Where's Fielder? He's gone to the dogs.
Friends, we want to welcome you once again to the Gone to the Dogs podcast. This is Steve Fielder. I'm proud to report that I've got both feet firmly on dry ground. I've got a roof over my head. I've got the limbs and leaves and all that cleaned up from the yard here at the homestead here in the west coast of Florida. We survived Hurricane Ian, praise be to the Lord above. No damage. In fact, when the hurricane came in at Punta Gorda down by Fort Myers, and you've seen, I'm sure, on TV all the devastation that it caused. It's very, very saddening. But when it came in there, it decided to take kind of a northeasterly track and up toward, actually, more or less toward Daytona Beach. So when it did that, it took us out of the cone. We had originally been scheduled to be at ground zero or right in the bullseye here in the Tampa Bay area. So we're very, very thankful for that. And but I'm more thankful right now for the opportunity that I have to present to you a guest that I did some checking back on the records of the podcast, and this guy was one of our first guests when I started the Gone to the Dogs podcast way back in November 1st of 2021. Man, Josh, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. Josh Muncie from the great state of West Virginia.
It's great to be talking to you, Steve. And I know it sure don't seem like it's been that long ago. Glad you guys made it through that hurricane safe. A lot of prayers going up for you on our end. I know that.
Well, I appreciate that for sure, Josh, and I'm sure that goes for a lot of the people out there that mentioned that they were concerned and that they were praying for us. And I would take that opportunity to urge everyone within the sound of our voices today to bow their heads and pray for the people in Florida who some have lost everything. I think Ella told me today there had been at least 60-some confirmed deaths due to this hurricane, and to see the devastation, it really is sad. But we want to pray for those folks and lift them up, their families, and all in this incredibly difficult time. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Josh, we had a little hiccup. You were going to be on the podcast last week, and in the one that I titled Gone to the Dogs in a Hurricane. But as it turned out, this technician on this end of the conversation had some difficulties, because when we recorded, your end of the conversation came out just terrific. Mine, not so much. I had some mic problems, some technical problems. But hopefully this one will make up for that one. We had a real good conversation. I'm looking forward to getting back into that and sharing it with our listeners here on the Gone to the Dogs podcast. I will mention real briefly before I forget our good friends out at DU Hunting Supply, Buddy Woodbury, Jason Doobie, all the staff at DU Supply that do such a great job supplying the hound hunters across the country and around the world, really, with great products and great service. So we want to thank them for the opportunity to come to you today.
Yeah.
You bet. Well, Josh, when I first got acquainted with you, it was through what you then called your Muncie Outdoors YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and right away I was impressed with your boys, and they're quite the young men. Very, very polite, friendly, just great kids. And last when was it? Back earlier in the summer, maybe, that you were down here, and I got to meet with you and the boys, and we went out to lunch and had a great visit.
Yes, sir. I believe that was back in June when we made it down that way.
Well, I sure enjoyed it, and
We sure did too. It was it was one of those things that we planned. That was part of the trip that we had planned, and was getting to meet you and hang out for a little bit. And I know me and the boys, we all really enjoyed that, and I'm sure Brittany enjoyed the break as well.
oh, I'm sure. Well, tell the audience about your boys.
Well, Bryson, he's getting ready to turn 17 here October the 7th. He'll be turning 17. Great kid. I couldn't be more proud of either of our boys. Like you said, I take pride in the fact that they're big hearted, love people, and I'm proud of both of them. They keep us busy. They keep us busy with chasing a basketball around, and Bryson likes to make a lot of noise with playing music, whether it's guitar, piano, or whatever. He keeps the house usually pretty loud, and as far and Peyton, our youngest one, he'll turn 14 the day after Christmas, and probably the biggest hearted person that I know, and I'll give a lot of that credit to their mom, because that most of their good qualities they seem to have gotten from her.
Josh,
give her
I'm
the credit for that.
Absolutely. Hats off to Brittany. And man, I tell you, you married way up.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I thank the Lord for it every day.
You betcha. Well, I just, little things, body language and all, when I was with you and the boys, and we would, it's no secret. I'm a senior citizen. I'm a lot older, and I must seem old as dirt to those boys because, here's a guy in his 70s and they're still in their teens. But the body language, especially from Peyton, just reaching over, touching your arm, and just, as you go through the door and kind of stepping back and, those little things mean a lot. And I was very, very impressed with your boys. And the job that you and Brittany have done with them is just really amazing. And I just wish that all parents out there would take the time and invest in the future of their kids the way you guys have. So
we appreciate that, and that is one of the greatest compliments that us as parents could probably get. We're extremely proud of them.
Well, that's true. We are proud of our kids, and as we're recording this right now, I just texted with my son, and he lives up on the west side of Chicago, and was waiting for car service to come by and pick him up, take him out to O'Hare, and he'll be on a jet to Amsterdam. In his job, he frequently flies around the world, and I'm just real proud of Chris, and he's a family man to the bone. I mean, no place he'd rather be than home with his lovely wife, Teresa, and their daughter, Chloe, who, of course, is my pride and joy. And,
sure.
But our kids are everything, and to see kids get involved, in our sport, it is really refreshing to me. And to see all the organizations that are out there that are trying to do things to get these kids involved in coon hunting, where they can enjoy the sport the way that I have all my life long. And I started when I was a kid with my dad. When I was only 3 years old, the first hunt that I remember taking on my grandpa's mule with my dad. But anyway, I don't want to talk all about me today. I want to talk some coon hunting with you, Josh. You're down there in the hills of southern West Virginia, in the part of the world where I was raised, and down there, coon hunting is kind of I don't want to say religion, but it's certainly a tradition in those mountains, and it's not easy, is it?
No, it isn't easy, and that's okay. The people around here seem to be accustomed to and equipped to handle stuff that ain't easy a lot of times. So, and some of that is brought on by ourselves, I believe. making stuff more difficult on ourselves. And maybe coon hunt may be the epitome of that, of making things difficult on ourselves that we don't necessarily have to do, but we certainly enjoy it, and it is a very deep rooted tradition around here, and something that I'm proud to be a part of that.
Well, yeah, and there's a Latin expression, or I guess it's the motto for the state of West Virginia, Montana Semper Liberi. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Mountaineers always free. And there's always been a sense of freedom. And, the people that settled those mountains in the Appalachians and all were fiercely independent, private type people, wanted to get away, from the pressing crowd, so to speak, and seek out the remote places and throughout the Smokies and up through Virginia and West Virginia there, and it's just there's just a fierce individualism and a hardy outdoor, tough as whit leather, I like to say, is the mountaineer spirit. And, people that aren't from that part of the country may not understand it. I think they see us sometimes as being backward people that, possibly uneducated or whatever. At least that's the way the media likes to portray us at times.
Sure.
But for sure you're going to find some extremely well educated, intelligent, hardworking, God-fearing people in that part of the country, and it's kind of sad to see the economic problems that the area has endured down through the years, because basically coal mining has been it for that area.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? Yeah, but. At any rate, I'm proud to be a mountaineer, aren't you?
Absolutely. I know there's good people everywhere, but if you gave me a choice where I'd want to be from, I wouldn't change a thing. It'd be right here.
Well, that's for sure, and I have so many good memories. People laugh at me for all my stories, but there's just so many stories from that part of the world that come to mind to me. And just over and over. My dad, being from Middle Tennessee, a farm boy, in the rolling farm country just west of Nashville, told my brother, he said, when I married your mother and we moved to West Virginia, I fell in love with the mountains. And I think that's the case of many people who've gone away. And there's been quite a few celebrities that have come and made their homes, especially vacation homes and maybe retirement homes in the mountains. One I can think of is Bob Denver, who played on Gilligan's Island, if anybody remembers that old TV show. And he had a home there in Princeton, West Virginia, which is not very far south of where I grew up. But anyway, we'll see if the Chamber of Commerce in West Virginia won't put us on the payroll, because
that's right.
All right. Well, listen, Josh, I know from watching your YouTube channel that you've changed the name of your channel from Muncie Outdoors to Boneyard Outdoors. How'd that come about?
Well, it kind of started. It's something that we kind of talked about previously in the first podcast that we done, that it wasn't something that we intended on it being what it is with sponsors and things like that. That was never our intentions in starting out. So I threw that name on there simply because that was our last names, and everything we was going to do was going to be outdoors. So it was pretty simply named, but. We got to the point where we wanted to start having some other people involved, even some that weren't members of our family, the Muncie family, and we wanted to change kind of directions. So we felt like it was better, it was easier to get other people involved in it if it wasn't just about us and just about our family. And we're still in the process of doing that, as far as reaching out and getting other people involved, maybe making some videos having other people making videos that we put up on the channel, and so that's something that we're looking into and trying to get the right people to do that. They have the right kind of the personality and the character that we want on that page, where people feel like parents will feel comfortable with their kids watching our channel, knowing they're not going to hear any bad language or see anything they shouldn't. And it's just going to be us having a good time, and that's kind of what we want to portray. But the Boneyard name is I have a cousin named Micah Markham, and a lot of the even the competition hunters are going to know who Micah is. He's hunted on every stage, the biggest stages there is, and he's been pretty successful at it. He's done pretty good with the coon hunting, and he when he hunts around here, that's what he always calls it, was the Boneyard. And when he would put his post on Facebook, that's what he always said, tree and coons here in the Boneyard. So he was one that we're going to bring off from time to time. So we just kind of went with that name, and kind of just for the area here, and that's what we kind of call it around hunting around here, is hunting in the Boneyard.
I got you. Well, that's a catchy name with a history, a foundation right to it. So that makes it doubly cool, as they say. Well, that's great. Well, I know when I first started watching your podcast, first of all, I was taken by Peyton's ability to do your advertising, and
yes, sir.
And all. That man's got a future in media if he wants to pursue it.
I agree 100%. That's when we made it down to Autumn Oaks, and we were down there. There were several people that knew who Peyton was, and that was their statement. That young man is a salesman, and I mean, and he can talk to anybody, and he can talk about anything. And when it comes to these coon hounds and coon hunting, both my boys, they started coon hunting when I did. So if I know it, they know it. And if I can talk about it, they can talk about it with just as much information as I can muster up.
Well, I guarantee that's the truth, and they really are. We can't say enough about the boys, and what a great opportunity it was for me to meet them and see them again at Autumn Oaks. And we're going to talk about Autumn Oaks in a minute. But I noticed on your podcast, not your podcast, but your YouTube channel and some of your posts on social media, that your friend lost his dog recently, a dog that obviously both of you depended on quite a bit, and we've seen him on the YouTube videos and so forth. Tell us about Max, who he was, or what he was, and what happened to him, and just kind of give me that story, if you would, Josh.
Okay, yeah. Now, Max is he's the reason that I got into coon hunting at all, honestly. Channing, everybody who has watched any of our YouTube channel, Channing is on most of them, and Channing is he's my first cousin, but me and him have become more like brothers through this coon hunting thing, and that just seems to be the way it goes. But he went and picked Max up from a guy that we went to church with at the time. And when he picked Max up, Max was just a little puppy. I mean, he was just weaned, actually, probably 6 or 8 weeks old, not very old dog when he got him. And he came home and he told me that that guy had a couple other pups, and so I went down and looked at them and got one. And me and Channing, we ran those pups together for a long time, and we've kind of talked about that even on the other podcast, that we ran those pups together, and we let them pups trying to hunt together. Knowing what we know now, we wouldn't have done that. That we didn't know that you wasn't supposed to just run two pups together, but we did, and we felt the pain from every bit of it. I assure you of that. But now Max, he was a insane bred dog. Went back to Insane Jane, if I'm not mistaken. And as far as his papers, I can't tell you a whole lot about his papers, but I know that Insane Blood, there's something Channing he swore by after we got Max, and I understood why Max was a special dog. And I know a lot of people have a lot of good dogs, and say the same thing about their dogs. And everybody can say this bloodline's the best, or however you want to say it, but that never really mattered much to me. But now Max was an impressive dog. When we would take him out, he probably treated his first coon. The pup that I got was off a previous litter, so he was a little bit older than Max. And you would think that he would have been a little further along, but that wasn't the case. Max, it didn't take long for Max to leave him in the dust. And we took another man's older dog. The first night we ever treated coon, we took another guy's older jip dog, hunting, hoping to show these pups what to do. And Max got off by himself. The older dog and my pup were standing at her feet when Max was across the hollow from us treed. And we walked over there, and he sure enough had the coon, and he never slowed down. After that night, he treed that coon, and it never stopped. And of the 5.5 years that I hunted with Max, I would say 95% of the coons that dog treed, I was under the tree looking at them, and I'd say 95% of the coons that I've ever looked at has been because that dog has showed them to me. And I could count over those years. I could count on both hands less than 10 slick trees we ever walked to.
Wow,
he was an impressive
sure.
dog.
I'm sure.
He didn't miss none. He was not a super fast hunter. He was going to take his time, but he was going to be right.
Well, that's to guys like me, that means the world right there. I realize it may not be always the winning combination in competition, but well, listen, let's describe Max. We'll start with what he looked like.
I told Channing from the get-go, once Max got a little bit older and started feeling out a little bit and getting away from that puppy look, I told him from the get-go he was the prettiest walker dog I'd probably ever laid eyes on, and that's probably still true right now. He just blanket backed, a lot of black on him. He's a beautiful dog, big houndy dog. He was a beautiful dog.
What would he weigh, you guess?
I would say Max probably here at the end, I'm going to say he was probably 60 pounds, 65 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He was good. He was well put together. Good looking, just a good looking dog.
Mm-hmm. Typical tri-colored walker dog with a tan or red head, or was he black-headed dog?
No, he was a black-headed dog. Very little brown on him.
I got you. Okay. Well, Nubbin Moore, of course, anybody that listens to this podcast knows Nubbin, and he has a real nice female. Her name is Alabama Insane Kate, and she's out of Insane Kane, which that bloodline is definitely a good bloodline of walker dogs, no doubt about it. Well, okay, so Max, when you unsnapped him, what could you expect?
He wasn't going to hang around. When you unsnapped him, he was going to go hunt. Like I said, he wasn't going to leave the country running 15, 20 mile an hour. That just wasn't how he was going to hunt. He was going to hunt thorough. He was going to move around good, and he was going to cover a lot of ground. He didn't care to go as deep as he had to go, and he got us in some absolute messes. Some of the best nights I've ever had in the hills were because of Max, and some of the worst nights I've ever had in the hills were because of Max. And he could have, if Channing would have wanted to push him in some competition hunts, he could have titled Max easily. He was just that kind of dog. He just could have. He could have, and wouldn't have had a whole lot of trouble. Channing he never had a big interest in pushing the competition hunts, and so he didn't have any titles. But as far as competition hunting, he didn't have any titles. He was Channing's buddy, and that's probably the most important title that a dog could have. And but he was extremely impressive. Big loss for Channing. Big loss for us. I've made this statement before, like if I asked the boys if they wanted to go hunting, and they love to coon hunt. But they would always ask me, is Channing taking Max? And if Max wasn't going that night, they didn't really care if they loaded up in or not.
Well, describe for the listeners out there kind of what the typical territory that you would hunted that dog. When you took Max, you and Channing went out there and took Max, where would you go?
Now we like to turn a dog. We like to start at the bottom of a hollow, and turn the dog up the hollow, and that's usually how we hunted him. And we never had a whole lot of good luck. It seemed like turning him up on a ridge top, and he was not going to road hunt. If you tried to push him on a road, he was going to step to the side and let you drive on by. He wasn't going to do that. You was going to drop hunt him, and like I said, we had a lot better luck turning him up a holler and let him hunt that hollow out. And sometimes you may pick him up 3 hollows over. But he was going to go, and you was picking him up off a tree. He was not coming back to you.
When you speak about a hollow, basically that's a drainage where there's a creek coming down gradually from the top somewhere back at the head of that hollow, and steep ridges on either side, correct? And extremely steep. And then as you talk about him treeing 2 or 3 hollows over, well, that's when you climb up that side and you get to the top, you got to drop down in another hollow and then climb back up that side and then maybe in the 3rd hollow. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Up and over mountains, up and down mountains. A lot of times now we try to hunt in places where we would have a road around to some of these places. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, and you never know which direction the dog's going to go. So, but yeah, it's extremely steep walking these mountains, which you know well.
Absolutely. Well, has some of this territory that you're hunting been strip mined and reclaimed, or maybe not reclaimed?
Yeah, a lot of it. There's a lot of strip mines around here, and that's really where most of our access roads come from. It's from the old mining roads, or a gas company may put a road into the top of a ridge somewhere. So we take advantage of those where we can.
Sure. Well, I'm just trying to set the scene for those that are so blessed to be hunting around cornfields and patches of timber, or maybe like those who'll be going here pretty soon out to the national refuges along the Mississippi and Arkansas deltas there to hunt in those big, wide, oak river bottoms. It's not quite like that back where you and I come from, is it?
No, there's times I certainly wish it was, but no, it's not. I'm envious of some of those guys who have those river bottoms they can hunt, and and have the cornfields that you can turn the dog. And I'm not saying that's easy hunting. I know it comes with its own set of difficulties hunting in those areas and getting into the swampy areas, and seems to come with the hunting the flatter ground. And it seems like those guys even have more trouble sometimes with dogs getting hit on roads and stuff like that than even what we do. And I know there's dangers that come with that. But I wouldn't turn an invitation down to hunt in one of those big flat places a time or two.
Any of you flatlanders out there, river bottom hunters, listen up. You can call. Right. He's on YouTube at Boneyard Outdoors, on Facebook at the same. No, as you're talking there, Josh, I can just think back over the years, and I was so blessed to hunt in so many different parts of the country. I've even hunted coons in Wyoming, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
And when Dean Carroll first asked me to come out there and hunt, I thought, well, why would I want to go that far just to coon hunt? I was living in Michigan or perhaps in North Carolina by that time. But, been really blessed to have hunted over a lot of, different types of territory and terrain. And it's fun just to sit back and, relive those hunts and just relive those experiences. As a hunter, right now I'm just thinking about how neat it was to be maybe hunting around Florida, Illinois, or down around southern Indiana, and turn loose in a big river bottom cornfield, and you can feel just the dampness in the air, the cooler air down around that bottom. Of course, if you're in there in the summertime, that translates to humidity, and it almost feels like a wool blanket someone's laid across you. But just the different kinds of, the experiences, and be out there in the woods, walking along. Maybe it's hot, and then all of a sudden you feel a cool breeze that just kind of comes from nowhere, and so many sights and sounds and experiences to coon hunting, even beyond the dogs, and of course the sound of that dog opening in that bottom is just something that you can't describe to a person who hasn't experienced it, right?
No, you're exactly right. You can't describe that to somebody. I've tried to describe it to my wife, and she thinks we're idiots. Because she just don't get it. She hears dogs barking all day, and she does not get the hype. I just tell you, she's not about that lifestyle. We took her. I took her one night, and I've got her to go on one hunt with me since I've been doing this, and it was an easy 100-yard walk to the tree, flat walk to the tree, and she hated every step. And she won't go back. I've invited her several times, but she won't go back with me anymore to do that.
Well, I have that very same experience in my home. So one and done was Miss Ella.
I'm sure we're not alone on that.
That's absolutely for sure. Well, before we get away from the Max dog altogether there, before we close that chapter out, let's talk about, you had a litter mate to him, was it, or a full brother to him, right?
He was. They had the same. They had the same dad.
Okay.
Out of both litters.
I see.
Mine was about 6 months older than his, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you still have that dog?
I don't. I hunted him probably a year and a half. And we knew pretty quick that he didn't care to go. He just had no idea what to do while he was running around in the dark park, and he just had no idea. And but now, and a lot of that was my fault. I didn't know how to train the dog. I didn't know how to put him in the right situations to help build confidence, which I've learned is extremely important. To not put a pup always in a position where the track is going to be difficult and you're going to get upset, and put him in a position where you're scolding him for not doing something that he has no idea that you want him to do. You have to put young pups in a situation to be successful, and you have to praise them every opportunity you get. As quickly as you'll punish one or correct one, you should be just as quick to praise one when it does even the littlest thing right. Because the confidence in a dog is it's important.
You have learned a lot, gained a lot of wisdom in the short number of years that you've been hunting, Josh, because that's absolutely true. Put them in a position to win. That's why when we take kids fishing for the first time, we don't take them to Alaska to catch salmon. We take them to a farm pond where the bluegills will just tear a redworm up,
That's right.
And where they can catch them. And that's why squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting perhaps, or even coon hunting is a great gateway for young people. They don't have to get out there and sit in a tree all day long and freeze to death and be quiet the whole day. But yeah, put a pup in position to win.
Yes, sir.
Give him, and we use feeders and things of that nature to make sure that they have hot tracks to start with. Now, do we want to overdo that? No. As they progress, we want them to learn to go hunting, to find their track and all. But if they learn with the easy ones, then, they'll rapidly progress into the area that that we want to see them, enter and continue with. But Max died at what, 5, 6 years old?
Yeah, he was 5.5, 6 years old, right in that area, and he'd got loose. He got out of his kennel, which he had done before. Normally, he would, if he had ever got loose, Channing would wake up and find him on the porch that morning. Because he was one, he would be in the house with Channing sometimes, and he'd bring him in and let him lay around in the house if it was cold out and stuff like that. So, he was a great family dog. Channing's kids and wife, they all loved him, but he got loose, and I don't know if he was chasing something or what, but he tried to cross the 4 lane and didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunately the fate that a lot of coonhounds end up in. They simply are not aware that there's danger there.
Right.
And, there's so many things hunting around railroad tracks. There's one place that Nubbin and I turned loose at the White River that we like to go to, but there's a elevated train track that comes through there. And, I've seen experiences, especially back there in West Virginia with the coal trains and so forth, where the dogs, they seem like they think they can run underneath that train between those wheels, and they don't realize how that one set of wheels that just went by, there's another one coming right behind it. And there's been a lot of good dogs lost on to railroads and just all kinds of things. And then I'll get on the soapbox here when we add this irate landowner who thinks that, they have the right to shoot any animal on their property. Then, we add that danger into our hunting. And of course, we try everything we can to persuade people not to do that. But it's a dangerous world out there for these dogs. And
it certainly is.
Yep, and that's why it's so important that we have these GPS collars able to keep them out of harm's way. I know in Michigan, we had to fight for the right to keep our old beep-beep collars, our telemetry collars, because the antis felt that they were represented unfair chase. We were they painted the hunters as guys sitting in the truck drinking beer, watching this radio thing, and when the tree switch went off, then they'd run to the dogs and shoot the game, and that it was just that easy. We know better, but it's interesting how that kind of has come full circle, because Florida has passed legislation that requires GPS collars on dogs when you turn them loose. So, it's kind of come full circle there. But they see the advantage, of the hunters to be able to recover their dogs, get them. And a lot of that kind of revolves around deer hunting with hounds down here, which is still a strong tradition here. And, you keep the dogs on the block where you turn them loose, keep them out of the highways and so forth. But it's unfortunate that you lost this nice dog like that. Did you get any puppies out of Max at all?
No, that's something that Channing and I both kind of wish would have happened. Was that we would have got some pups off of him, and it never happened. We never took Max anywhere. Ever bought a female to him to breed. Now Channing did have a female that he kept that he had at his house for a while that was bred up good, and she had showed some promise too when she was younger. That we thought she was going to be a good one, and that we was going to be able to get pups off them, and it never panned out to where we were able to.
Well, this is a good opportunity here. We always try to teach something on this podcast, and one thing that I'd like to teach here, if I may, is that get these good dogs collected. This artificial insemination through frozen semen has come a long way. It's very successful. It might be a little more expensive, but if you've got a good one that you think you would like to have something, maybe not now, but down the road, get that dog collected and frozen, and it can stay in a tank, just like they do in the cattle industry. And so that would be one thing. Another thing is, if you've got these real good dogs, breed them early. They're stronger breeders when they're young. Everything about them is stronger, and you're more apt to get good, strong, healthy litters when you breed young dogs. If you've got the genetics there and you've got the ability's been demonstrated in that dog, don't wait. That was the thing with my dad and me with the bear pen plots that we raised for so many years. We would wait until the female was already up in age before we would breed her sometimes, because we didn't want to take her out of the pack, didn't want to have that downtime with those puppies. But you got to build for the future with these hounds, And
Yep, I certainly would, and I know Channing would say the same thing. We wish we would have done something like that, or planned earlier and had pups out of max, because he was promising from a young age. We knew he was a good dog, and that's something we probably should have. I speak like I had part ownership of him, but I didn't own a hair on that dog. I just thought the world of him, and like I said, I could have took him hunting anytime I wanted. Channing can come get anything I got and take anything I got to hunt with at any time, and I can do the same with his. So,
well, it's wonderful to have those kind of relationships,
Yeah, it is.
And it's in this dog sport. And I'd be out right now if it weren't for my friends. I could list a lot of them, but two guys that are really helping me right now with young dogs that I would not be able to train just simply because where I'm living and the circumstances. And that's my friend Mark Miller up in North Carolina that's hunting our little plot dog Fever, and Keston Jesse, who's been on the podcast here a couple episodes ago up in Virginia, that's hunting the Trackman Lone Pine Jillian pup that we co-own together. I would not be able to, if I owned the pups, I'd either have to send them to somebody to hunt and pay a sizable amount of money every month to get them hunted, or I could do what I've done with these. And these guys, and we're co-owners of the dog. They own the dog just as much as I do, but it gives me the opportunity to be involved with that dog. And it's a great time to be an old guy right now with this, with these cell phones with videos and text messaging and all of that, So
Yeah, I listened to. I did listen to. I listened to both the podcast. Well, I've listened to all the podcasts, but I did get to listen to the one with Mark and the one with Keston, and I was impressed with both. I think you've been blessed with two good partners on those dogs. Guys that's going to put them in the woods and give them the opportunity to do something. So I think I was impressed with both of them. I think you all. That's a good owner. That's a good partnership. It seems to be.
Well, Josh, I couldn't say enough about either one of these guys. I mean, they're coon hunters. There's no question about it. And we had a little fun weekend here just since the hurricane went. See, I was supposed to be up in Virginia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania hunting all that hurricane week. And I got up to North Carolina, and Mark and I went hunting on let's see, what did we do, Saturday night, and I was going to then head over to Heath Hyatt, who's well known in the podcast world with his The Journey podcast, and we were going to bear hunt 3 days. Then I was going to hunt a night with Keston, with our Trackman Lone Pine pup, and then head to Randy Smith's in Pennsylvania for a couple nights. Well, all of that changed when Hurricane Ian decided to come up the west coast of Florida. But at any rate, just this last weekend, Mark took Fever to a UKC hunt on Friday. And are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I heard a noise there on. I'm going to have to mark that so we can get the producer to take that out. Mark took Fever to a UKC night hunt on Friday night, and it was pouring down rain. They got the effects of that hurricane that came up through the Carolinas. In fact, PKC canceled the zone hunt, the regional qualifying event for their world hunt that was to be held in Union, South Carolina. They canceled it because of the weather. But Mark, being hardcore, it was raining, but he went to the hunt and said they had a pretty good turnout, and he hunted in the rain and got another cast win on that pup. So he's got 4 now. It's 1 to go, and I'd posted on social media a few weeks ago or so. Mark had got some nice these insulated metal mugs made and had Fever's picture on it, and it said "Catch the Fever," and he'd send it to me, and I said, no, I'm not going to use that until he finishes in the night champion and gets his tournament champions qualification. So I'm sitting here looking at that mug right now, and I'm still drinking out of a Dixie cup because we haven't got that fifth win yet. But hats off to Mark, for having the I guess fortitude to get out in that rain, and I guess they got soaked and all. But at any rate, to your point, yes, I do have 2 great partners in my dogs, and I just couldn't be thankful enough for them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it sounds like you got a good one on your hands there.
Well, you never know. At a pup that age, he won't be a year old until the middle of October. So we kind of, once he started winning some casts, we thought, well, wouldn't that be neat if he got 5 before he's a year old? So I think we got one more opportunity that we might be able to do that. But if he don't, I think we're going to keep him anyway.
If you don't, I know somebody who'll take you.
I bet. But yeah, it's just so much fun to watch young dogs develop and to see them, do what those genetics and this dog world. I saw a post by a lady out in, let's see, there, I think in Nevada or possibly Arizona, Cleve and Becky Dwyer. They are lion hunters. And Becky is a very astute dog person, I think, but she wouldn't say so. She says she's still just learning. But she made a post here that I just read today talking about, how she's still learning about these dogs. I've been around them since I was a little kid. Can't ever remember a time when there wasn't a dog out the back door at the house. And don't know a smidgen, as they'd say back home, of what I ought to know about dogs and breeding dogs and all. But it's a wonderful thing to be involved in and to try to study them and try to see how to plan these crosses. Maybe that will work. But it's always a mystery. You may pick the best male and female and look at the papers and think this is a absolute slam dunk. There's no way these puppies can fail, and yet they do. And And then on the other hand, sometimes, what seems to be obvious is, and that's I think about when Lane Denny bred his Emmy female world champion to the Rackham Willie dog at J.R. Gray's, and those pups they have done great.
Yes.
Were both outstanding dogs, and both world champions. Willie, a twice world champion, AKC and UKC, and here and Emmy a world champion too, and those pups have turned out great. So, but to say every time you breed a great dog to a great dog, you're going to get great pups, can't say
it
that.
Don't seem to work that way, does it?
It doesn't. There's a lot of mystery to it, and I guess that's what makes it so interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, Josh, tell me about your trip to Autumn Oaks. You and the boys went up to Autumn Oaks, I believe, for the first time, didn't you?
Yep, that was our first trip. My buddy Justin, the one we hunt with, has the blue dogs. If he wasn't family and hunted blue dogs, I'm not sure I'd hang out with him as much as we do. But just because he's family, I let him hang around. But we the dogs he had, he got rid of one of them. The Cutter, he had Cutter and Hope was the first blue dogs. And I'm talking about it because me and you have spoke about these dogs before. And Cutter actually went up to Autumn Oaks and done pretty good. And out of him and Hope, we kind of thought Hope was going to be the better dog out of that, but Cutter seemed to do pretty good while he was up there. And so me and my boys and Justin and his little boy Brennan made it up to Autumn Oaks. It was Justin. He's been there before, but that was our first trip, and we were kind of blown away with it. Even we were just there for the Saturday, there for one day, and it rained most of that day, and we still had it. We had a blast.
Well, that's great. Well, tell me a little bit about what you experienced up there.
Well, to me, it's awesome to see that many coon hunters. Even though I know there's a lot of coon hunters, and I know they're out there, but to see that many coon hunters, if you love coon hunting and you love flea markets, man, Autumn Oaks is the place for you because they got a little bit of everything, and it is to me a great atmosphere to be surrounded by coon hunters, to be surrounded by dogs and all the equipment that we use, and just meeting people. And it's kind of an amazing thing, which we don't have our channel, and even in the coon hunting world, our YouTube channel is not one of the bigger ones as far as that goes. But for people to recognize you, that kind of blows your mind a little bit. But we had a great time meeting people, and some of our sponsors were obviously there. Cajun Lights was there, and even though L.W. Nixon, who is now the owner of Cajun, I've talked to him several times on the phone and through Messenger, but got to meet him and his mom and his dad. They were helping him there in the booth, and got the opportunity to meet and talk to them, and they're great people. And it made me even. I've always been kind of proud and happy to wear that Cajun name, to wear the lights and to use their products. But it made me proud when you meet the people who make them and see what kind of people they are. It makes you proud to carry that name and to wear that equipment. So they are just great people, and I can't say enough about them. But the boys had to wait on me. I seen that LW was kind of covered up. He was repairing lights and working on collars, and his mom and dad was trying to keep up with everybody that was coming around to buy stuff. So I volunteered to help and spent the last 2 hours that we were there working that booth. And I'm just telling you, and the boys sitting over there eating ice cream and pulled pork sandwiches while I was helping them work that booth. But I just enjoyed meeting everybody,
sure,
and getting the experience that.
Well, if you're around, most any community where we live, they talk about, well, you need to support the local business people,
Yeah.
the big
Yep.
box stores and all that, but are there. But if you can support the local business, well, these vendors that come to Autumn Oaks, or maybe they're just out there at your local club hunt on Saturday night with the table set up with collars and leashes and maybe a garment or two and a few pairs of boots or whatever. Those are our local businesses.
Sure.
They're part of our coon hunting community. Those people have connections to coon hunting, or they wouldn't be in that business. And I try to support those people as much as I can. I have really supported them more than I needed at times,
Sure.
because here was a new gadget of some kind that I didn't have yet.
Sure.
And that's what I always try to do at Autumn Oaks is go take a cruise through the barn and see if there's anything in there. There's nothing there I need, I know, but there might be some things that I want. And we joked about Keston being on his first trip to Autumn Oaks and how, the vendors were doing very well because every time I saw him, he was coming through from the vendor barn with something else in his hand to go put in the truck,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, but yeah, that's great. And, each one of these guys, we all have favorites. Somebody may like brand A, somebody else brand B, brand C, whatever. But, as a rule, whatever you find out there, at these major events like Autumn Oaks are going to be geared to your sport. And you can't walk in Tractor Supply or, sometimes in Bass Pro or Cabela's or somewhere and get something that's geared just for the sport of coon hunting.
No, that's right.
Yeah, because we have special needs. I mean, it takes tough equipment to stand up to the rigors night after night, of coon hunting. And,
Yep, it certainly does.
And these in collars, you go to Tractor Supply or somewhere and buy a collar. Well, coon dogs are going to have that thing torn up in 2 or 3 nights.
Yes, sir.
That might be a poor example. I don't have any vendetta against Tractor Supply. I apologize, but just by example, the companies that don't make it specifically for coon hunters, it's not going to hold up. Quite simply, I remember back when I was at AKC, and I first heard that Garmin was working on a GPS unit for dogs. And I talked to Bob West, who was with Purina, and he'd been out, I guess, to Kansas and had seen a demonstration on this thing. And the way it was designed at that time was a vest for the dog to wear with an antenna that stuck up on the back of the vest, like from the dog's shoulder blades, a little rubber ducky antenna and all. Now, can you imagine about the first fence a coon dog went through with that thing?
That wouldn't last very long at all.
No. So, and I was happy to be able to participate in some of the testing of the prototypes and things that as Garmin was developing, the collars for the dogs. Right. And even at best, the dogs are still going to find ways to tear them up at times. But anyway, my point being when I got on that big rabbit path was to say we need to support and appreciate these vendors that provide these products for us that make our sport so much more enjoyable. And,
sure, absolutely. Well, some of the vendors, I know, even with LW, and I'm sure he's not the only one, but to come to Autumn Oaks, that's not an easy trip to make. That's not an easy thing to do, and to work the whole time you're there. It's not that they're not going to. Sure, they're selling their supplies and stuff like that, but they're meeting the people who need this, and that's as valuable to a business as anything, especially in this business, is knowing your people, knowing your customers, and they take pride in that and getting to meet them and introduce themselves to them. And I think that's an important aspect of the big shows like Autumn Oaks or even the Grand American, which I've never got to attend, but I'm sure it's the same thing. That these
Sure.
guys come from a long way away sometimes to get there. No, they don't make easy trips, and it's not easy
No.
while they're there.
No, I'm reminded of Sandra Hintz with K-Light Company. Her dad, Mike Kelly, founded that company, and she makes that long drive from Texas. She's way down by Houston, and that's a long road, and with
Yes,
a
sir.
trailer and all of that to be there and open her doors and offer her products right there for at our convenience. To me, that's a tremendous thing, and we really don't do enough to appreciate those people. And I think when we recorded before, I got on a bit of a soapbox, and I'll just take one step up on it here to say that those vendors get hammered from people wanting donations all the time.
Yes, they do.
And their products are their livelihood. That's how they keep their lights on at home. And so we need to be a little more respectful of these companies. Now, I'm sure that a lot of them are very willing to help as long as it's going for the intended purpose and that they're not taken advantage of. So just think about that, clubs, when you pick up that phone to start calling, can you donate, can you donate, can you donate?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and coon hunters, don't be so ready to expect a lot of free stuff. You're going out there, you're hunting, you're getting an hour to 2 hours of fun, you're making some money or you're getting some points on your dog, and you're doing what you love. And quite honestly, you and I really don't deserve all that free stuff. But
No.
but we do thank the vendors that do provide it for sure. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm going to step back down on the ground now. Well, listen, you've got some young dogs or some pups there that you're fooling with, I think.
Yeah, we do. I got a 16-month-old Walker dog named Ridge. Right now, he is Ridge is Lipper on top and goes back to Lipper on top and Insane Cane on the bottom side. I haven't got his papers back yet to be able to dive in deep on his papers, but I know that's the big part of his breeding anyway. That majority of people would know are those two dogs. So he is he's not the prettiest Walker. He's no Max. I'll just tell you that he's not the prettiest dog I ever seen. He's speckled up. He looks more like an English dog probably than what he does up, which I know the roots go back to that anyway. But he's speckled up, but now he does what I want him to. He's got as much natural ability that I've ever personally in my short time and the few dogs that I've had. It's hard for me to imagine a dog that's any more natural. I've not done anything but took him to the woods, and he's picked up on it. He's picked up on treating these coons, and I'm proud of him for sure.
Well, you're the only one that has to be, and
That's right.
but it's great to hear that you got something going in to this fall season. Now, as we're recording this, it's going to air on October 10th, and that's getting really close to the coon season. What date does it come in West Virginia this year? Do you know, Josh?
Yep, it comes in on the 15th.
Okay, I could always remember it was somewhere around that time. I often have told people over the years I was born on October 12th. That was Columbus Day, used to be. I told them I discovered America on the same day that Columbus did. But it was in the, coon season, squirrel season, what we call small game season in West Virginia, was all happening right there around my birthday. So that made it a very, very special time of year for me. And the great thing about that was, as I got a little older, I used to get some kind of hunting equipment for my birthday. So that worked out. It was easier on my folks, and I sure did appreciate it. But
Sure.
But around the country, the coon seasons are coming in. It's kind of a bittersweet thing because I always liked to harvest fur. When I lived in Michigan, of course, the fur prices were pretty good when I first moved up there in the early 80s. And then they gradually decreased over the years. But I could still average about $8 a coon hide. So to me, that was worth doing. It was worth skinning that coon out and rolling him up, putting him in a plastic bag, dropping him in the freezer. Then at the end of the season, taking them out, letting them thaw, brush them out, sometimes take a hairdryer to them, get the burrs out of them and all that, make them look real nice, and take them down to northern Indiana there to a fur buyer. And that was all, and I may leave there with $300-400 in my pocket. Not a lot of money, but hey, it was worthwhile and it was fun.
Sure.
It was enjoyable. My good friend Randy Smith in Pennsylvania, he's an expert trapper, and he's trapped for years and years. Unfortunately, the trapping houses in Canada and so forth have basically shut down, and there's no market for that fur to speak of anymore. And that makes me sad because that's a resource that is usable, and the people overseas still make coats out of fur, and trim the collars and the cuffs and things with the fur. So, but at any rate, I always look forward to coon season, and if that dog does a good job, then I like to drop it down to him and let him know that I appreciate the job he's doing. And that's one of the reasons we go to White River every year. Not just to kill coons. We don't ever go for the numbers, but we do harvest a few.
Sure.
Because it's all, it's a fun part of the sport to me. And I don't apologize for it.
No, and I don't either. But I do think, that is an important topic to talk about. And everybody has their own opinions on harvesting coons or not harvesting coons, and I'm not saying one way's right or one way's wrong. Now, if the furs were different, I'm envious of that time. I wish I would have got to participate when the hides you were able to sell them and do something. I wish I was coon hunting at that time, and but here I feel like the coon population is not conducive with being able to harvest every
right.
coon that you shoot, and there's people who do. And I wouldn't put them down for nothing. I completely understand that that's an enjoyable part, and there's scientifically justifiable reasons to do so as far as turkey populations or anything like that. There's reasons that we have the harvest limits that we do, and the biologists make sure that we stick to those limits and be able to maintain a healthy coon population. But just here where I live, with a pup, I think you have to do things a little bit different. You have to reward that dog and let them know to build that confidence and help them win those battles, because they're the one fighting the battle while we just stand around looking at a Garmin or a phone or listening to them run in a holler. They're the ones down there doing that. They deserve that reward from time to time. But there's a lot of them that I leave in the trees around here, and I do that to try to leave something for my boys behind. I want to leave anything I do. I want whenever they go to do it, I want them to have more opportunities and better opportunities, even than what I do. As good as the coon hunt can be here at times, I want it to be better for them behind me.
Sure.
So I think it's an important thing. I ain't got a problem with people killing every coon they tree, but I also don't think it's going to hurt us to leave one every now and then.
Well, there's a lot of conversation to be had on the subject of harvesting coons, and there's been a pretty good swing of the pendulum away from giving, especially young dogs, a lot of coon or a lot of fur in their mouth. Sometimes it causes more problems than it solves. So it's pretty interesting to see the number of young dogs that are being trained today that have really never had their mouth on fur, And but we're hunters. We believe in hunting.
Yep.
And we believe that we always go back to the North American model for conservation that came about since Teddy Roosevelt, and how we brought many, many species back from near extinction, and how the harvest plays an important role in that, and how that the hunters' license fees and the Pittman-Robertson funds, the excise tax on ammo and guns and things like that go back into paying for, wildlife management. And the people that are most against us are the people who don't contribute anything. It's the hunter's licenses and when he buys sporting goods and those things that, pay the way, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
We need not to be ashamed when the harvest time comes, as it is now upon us once again. Thank the Lord.
Yes, sir.
To go out and enjoy the fruits, of what hunters before us have done. And yes, we need to be good stewards. We need to take care of the wildlife resource. We always had a personal thing within my family and all. We never took more than one coon out of a tree.
Yep.
And then a lot of times we left them when it might have served us better to take them. But at any rate, that's I'm glad that the hunting seasons are here once again. Are the leaves turning yet in the mountains?
Oh yeah, they're starting to turn. Actually, a lot of this rain that we're just now, it's just moving out of here from the hurricane. It's just kind of moving out of here today in our area. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it helped knock quite a few of the leaves off. So we'll take that, and a lot of them are changing. So we look forward to that time.
Well, all those guys invested all that money on those thermal scopes. Mother Nature's going to be my thermal.
Yeah. Yep, mine too.
But that's a great device too, and I'm certainly not campaigning against the use of those things at all.
No, absolutely not.
And especially as a training aid with young dogs and in the summertime and all that. But Josh, man, it's been a good visit here. We've almost done. We've done about an hour and 15 minutes or so. It seems like when we get together, we always find something to talk about.
Oh yeah.
What's your plan? You got any trips planned for the fall, or are you gonna just hunt around home, or what's going on?
We probably will try to take some trips. I think we may try to take a trip in Ohio and hunt. And we that will probably be the farthest trip, unless somebody invites me to got one of those cornfields that we're talking about. Then I might make another trip. But so we do plan on going to Ohio and trying to get these dogs on get these young dogs on maybe a few easier tracks than what we can find around here from time to time. And we got two young pups that are just right at 12 weeks old here now. So by the end of coon season, they should be out at least running around the hills. I don't know what they'll be doing. So and we may end up having to take another trip to Ohio if they start showing any kind of interest and promise. So we're looking forward to them. We got two pups out of my old dog Nitro. So that was my goal with him, was to be able to get some pups, and we were able to do that. Woodrow Smith has him, and I know you know who Woodrow is.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Woodrow, he lives in Virginia. He's about 4 or 5 hours from me, but he's got Woodrow and bred to his female Kate. She's a coon dog. Nobody else listening to this podcast other than me and Woodrow and his boys may know that dog, but she's a pretty good coon dog, and we want to get pups off them too, and we got two now that we're looking forward to.
Well, that's great, and it's always fun to be able to enter a hunting season with some projects, as we like to say. and see how they develop. And, that's the joy of hunting for me now. It always has been somewhat. I've had some good hounds over the years, and I had hounds that were competitive, and I sure like to take them to the hunts and win a cast and all that goes with it. But I think seeing a young dog develop has always been the most fun, and I do appreciate the text messages and emails that I get from listeners and social media friends asking me questions about hunting. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I will share with you what I do know and what I do feel will work or might help you. So if you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook at Stephen, Stephen F. Fielder, and I also have a site called Gone to the Dogs podcast with Steve Fielder, and also the Coon Hunting Conversations group on Facebook. We're up pretty close to 10,000 members in that group. A lot of good coon hunting conversation there. And so if you'll get in touch with me, I'll be happy to try to help you with your situation. And if I don't know the answer, I think I've got a pretty good network of people that I can point you toward that would be glad to help you. I meet people from all over the country, and I'm going to have Bruce Jansen on here and shortly, who is a very knowledgeable dog man, coon hunter, and we had a brief interview with Bruce in our Autumn Oaks episodes. But at any rate, with that, I will tell you that I have the Gone to the Dogs logo ball caps. Some call them truckers caps. These are solid front with a mesh back. There's either black and gray or green and white. The shipping is free. Those are available for $25 at stevefielderbooks.com. And of course, you can get a copy of my book, Gone to the Dogs, A Coon Hunter's Journey, at that website as well, stevefielderbooks.com. Josh, it's been great to have you on the podcast. Did we shine this tree pretty well, or is there some low limbs that we haven't covered yet that we need to do?
No, Steve, I think we've shined it pretty well, and I appreciate the opportunity. Like I always say, I know there's several people. You do have quite the extensive network, and I know you could have had it just about anybody on here, but I appreciate you inviting me on to be able to talk to you, and I enjoy it more so than being on the podcast. I enjoy getting to sit around and talk dogs and talk coon hunt with you. I really enjoy it.
Well, that's what this podcast is supposed to be about, Josh, and that's the way I'm intending to keep this thing with good, down-to-earth people that I respect, and people that have something to say and to share with the listeners. And you fit that bill just to a T, my brother. Hey, well, tell Bryson and Peyton hello for me. Any of you coon hunters up there in that flat country with those cornfields, it'll be well worth your time to hook up here with Josh Muncie just for the experience of meeting his boys. It'll be an experience you won't forget. Josh, thank you for coming on, brother. Wish you you and your family, and those of you out there in the podcast world, if somebody asks you, where's that old coon hunter, Steve Fielder? Just tell them, well, he's gone to the dogs.